This is our top 20 video game music show. People on Discord pick the songs. I react to them. I review the songs. I use my musical knowledge to try to provide some sort of entertainment for you. All right. God, I look like the guy in the Valve box. Maybe I don't sort of look like the Valve guy. Maybe the bald one. All right, this week's theme is Towers and Caves. So the first track, it's not labeled Tower or Cave, so we're going to guess. This is Sonar from Red Faction, composed by Dan Wentz. All right, well, that is a pretty creepy sound all around. Really, really gooey bass. And I like that kind of like spiky, spindly. It's kind of like a guitar. Maybe it's like a guitar with a wah pedal on it, or like a clav, you know, like Stevie Wonder Superstition kind of a sound. Really creepy. Kind of like that halftime industrial, the rock alternative kind of feel. I like that kind of punishing reverb snare. It almost sounds like it's from like a Def Leppard song. Like it actually, yeah, it sounds like an 80s sort of stadium. Bon Jovi! But then everything else is really cool. Much cooler than Bon Jovi. It's got, like, when that riff kicks in, I love that bam, bam, when it hits that bass kind of on the upbeat and at the end of the phrase. This was a Chris pick, but he didn't put his name on it, and I had to get the show set up in about as quick as I possibly could. So I copy and pasted what's there. If you don't have your name on it, I have no time for that. Very cyberpunky, for sure. Definitely like a nice it does have that 2000s feel, early 2000s, late 90s. Sounds great, really oppressive, but also, it's like dark and oppressive, but it's still fun. Because we are playing a video game and you are like living that power fantasy of running around and shooting people. Great pick. Next one from I&II, Chronicles. This is Tower of the Shadow of Death, composed by Yuzo Koshiro and arranged by Yukihiro Jindo, chosen by Rudi. Oh. Get it. Well, that was pretty proggy. There was some bars of 9-8, and there were some bars of 6-8 right after that. I like that riff. Kind of reminds me of the CM Punk intro. I'm a wow, cult of personality. It's like that pedaled riff where you're constantly bouncing it off the open string and then doing that little stop right before the end. Pretty badass. You say you hear this for most of the beginning of the game, the first half of the game, you said? That would be, is the music here the most in the first game? Why, is this like half the game is in this damn tower. Again, it's like the last one we heard. It's got a nice, like, swagger to it. Really kind of fun. It's got a confidence. It's got a sexiness to it. Also really progging, gives you a lot to kind of think about. In an RPG game, I think that's a good way to go. Because songs are going to be playing for a long time, and there's a lot to think about in an RPG. And people who play RPGs are smarter. That's right. Then what, though? I didn't say what. Then what? Next up. From The Binding of Isaac, Antibirth. This is Foreigner in Zeal, composed by Mudeth. a great, like, nice, beautiful swagger to it. This would be really cool, like, man, this theme, if it gets introduced at the right time, a little later on, you've really kind of established yourself. Maybe you've gone through a lot of, like, really difficult moments, and then maybe you get a new upgrade or something. There's this couple notes in here I really want to hear again. When it goes, I don't have a guitar to find like the notes. I can't hear or describe what that is in musical theory that I like about that so much. But there's just something about those note choices that feels so like there. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know. I don't know why I'm sitting here pretending I'm some musical savant that could just like go, oh, I can hear that. It's a interval to the minor second. It's just so like, it's kind of like got a sinister, bluesy kind of. There's so much character in those two notes. All three of these songs so far have had a really sexy, confident swagger to them. Somebody's getting impregnated. Wasn't that lovely? Next up, from Brave Fencer, Musashi. Released on the PS1 in 1998. This is Spiral Tower, composed by Tsuyoshi Sekito. Exciting track. Really feels like you're about to embark on this big adventure. I love that kind of like boom, 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 boom. Really gives it like a nice kind of launching pad for the higher melodic parts of that lower piece. Little trumpets and I like the little delay they have on different instruments. Really fun instrument with a lot of movement in it, and just really kind of triumphant and rousing. I am very roused. It's got the young body And then, yeah, the old man eyebrows and the hair coming out of his ears. It's not nice. And his hand looks so massive. Nice drawing of a castle back here. Almost like a line drawing of manga. It's strange. It looks fun and cartoony, but he doesn't look. Half of him looks like a kid. I don't know. And why does the everyone sign look like you're looking under a microscope and you're seeing millions of germs? All right, next up from Dynamite Headdy. So you know it's probably a Chris pick. Tower of Puppet, composed by Nazo. Up arrow, triangle hat, to Suzuki. Tower of Puppet, Tower of Puppet. Yeah. Orchestra hits at the end, bow, bow, and then that slide down, half a beat pause, and then boom, hits you again. Oh my God. Actually, no, it's not just a half a beat. 2.5 beats. Well, this is a great theme for the game because the game has a lot, so we have to repeat the theme. Only 1 minute and 27 seconds in this video. You can see in the game there's a lot of colorful action. It's really cartoony. There's a lot of layers, a lot of parallax scrolling, and I feel like even in this section here, you've got you have this. I guess they're like polyrhythms where you have these grooves. You have like two main kind of. You have these sort of layered different grooves and rhythms and melodies, repeating figures, and they work, but they kind of feel like they're pulling you in different directions. Especially that end. Some pretty wild and wacky stuff. I love it. It's good. Fits the game perfectly. Well, next up from Dungeon Explorer 2, this is Cave to Castle Strom. Look, it's made by Hudson Soft. Look at that sexy vampire boy man. Ooh, he's got a little inflamed nipple on his finger. Did you hear that little that like 2-note bass thing? 2 strings? Oh, it's right at the end of this intro. like really extravagant. It's like kind of fusiony jazz, really kind of swanky. It's constantly, you're constantly like not able to predict where the hits are going to be. It's just always like on an offbeat, or just constantly changing. Like crazy musicianship in here. And the saxophone, it's so funny. With a bit of delay on it too. And, you know, the electric piano, it's so like a casino or something, you know? It's the Las Vegas version. I mean, like, you look at the cover. Look at this. I mean, he does kind of have a swanky, sexy feel to him, even though he's... I mean, the color palette is so dark and muted, but then the title has that kind of metallic glint to it. So there is like a sexiness to the you know that like orange gradient in the fire, but you kind of expect to hear like metal or something, you know, like double kick, down-tuned guitars, and then instead you get this like crazy, so good. But yeah, like Chris was saying, yeah, I guess Castlevania kind of went for that, but this sounds like it came out before Castlevania. Well, at least like, yeah, this is 1993, so before Symphony of the Night. Next up, we've got, speaking of sexy, can you call that sexy? I don't know. It's definitely designed to be very attractive for a cartoon character. Look at her bursting thighs. All right, anyway, this is, you can't even see the title because this lady is just covering it. This is Shai and the Pirate. Back to the Roots, composed by Jake Kaufman. Bases. Track, amazing sound production on it. Yeah, I guess it could work maybe as a cave theme as well. It has a towery feel to me, where it's like you can feel that you're inside something, but that you're going up. There's a lot of like airy, synthy pad sort of sounds that sound like they have a bit of air, a bit of wind to them, kind of like a bit of reverb or like vocal pads. But yeah, I guess I hear the cave part too in the way that it's kind of like hard. And, like, the bass is so good. It's so kind of, there's a lot of hits to it, you know. And it's for Cackle Tower, so that is the truth. Next up, from Sea of Stars. What a great game from 2023. Look at the art on that. This is the Serpent Lullaby, composed by Eric Brown. Yeah, the pan flutes definitely do feel like you're in a tower, or so like has that kind of world music theme feel, like Chris was saying. But yeah, there's some sneaky sleuthing around moments. It's always like kind of pulling you on that upbeat. Bum 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 bum, shh, boom, doom 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 doom, boom. Really beautiful, really well done. So evocative, like it really creates a world, and it's a beautiful throwback to 16-bit. Maybe even 32-bit RPGs, JRPGs. God, I love the music and this gorgeous cover. Look at that artwork. Whoops. There we go. I mean, that hand-drawn style. And look at the bloody design of this. The graphic design. Putting this blue triangle here to divide it, her foot reaching out of the blue, but almost like vaulting off this wall of the border of the image. I kind of wish the actual game looked more like this than these guys. From what I can see, they look nice enough, but they look a little more cartoony than this. This has a bit more of a mature, comic booky line drawn. More comic booky, more manga than cartoon. Next up, this is a massive cave theme from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This is Mystic Cave Zone, composed by Masato Nakamura. That like boom, that was my favorite part. I waited for that in the track every time. It's got a very kind of like haunted house, but like goofy, kind of spooky. It's like super bouncy, super fun, really sort of like funny kind of just like spooky, goofy. That little thing. A lot of chromaticism where you're just going down each note rather than using like a scale and skipping notes here and there. It's just such a great track. It's got such a cool bounce to it. It really works with the Sega Genesis strengths, like using that like awesome 90s kind of like snare and the kick drum and the bass and the hard synth sounds that are just like really tight. If you knew how to play synth and if you knew how to play in a band, the Sega Genesis kicked ass, and Sonic 1 and 2 and 3 and Knuckles and Sonic CD, all those soundtracks were so good. Like there's great stuff in the 3D Sonic games, but it's so hard to compete with how perfect they got it in these first Sonic games. That one needed to make an appearance. If that didn't, then that would have been the one I would have played to start her off. But I'm glad you did. All right, next up from Dragon Quest V on the PS2. This had some really beautiful music. This is Tower of Death by Koichi Sugiyama, chosen by Rudi. This is some, like, beautiful... It definitely has, like, an animated movie feel to it, with the way that they orchestrate it. It's super lush, very, like, evocative, lots of big lilts. Dragon Quest V originally was on... Yeah, it has a romance to it, for sure. Dragon Quest V originally released on the Super Nintendo. It was the first Super Nintendo Dragon Quest game. But this version they did on the PS2... has some unbelievable music. I gotta show you this other one from Dragon Quest V PS2 called Heaven. It is so bloody nice. I mean, these tracks, there's a lot of times you can just, like, take, you know, Final Fantasy music and you have an orchestra play it. And you're like, that's nice, but it actually sounded better when it was using more, like, synths or, like, rock instruments or, you know, drums and stuff. But, like, this track sounds like it was absolutely made for the orchestra. The way it was made for strings. The way you can, like, just pull and kind of extend things, and you can really feel a lot of emotion from the actual players playing it. It's unbelievably nice. So Dragon Quest V, SNES. You know what fucking pisses me off? Okay, look. Click on... Oh, I can't see it. I click on the title in the search box. And I click it twice and it highlights. And then I start typing and it still doesn't register that I'm actually typing in the box, even though all the text is highlighted. So then I'm just like typing, and instead it starts thinking I'm doing keyboard shortcuts, so like the screen is going crazy. It's like a Windows thing of just not being very responsive. Dragon Quest V, SNES. I don't think the track is actually called Heaven. Hand of the Heavenly Bride, Bride of Heaven, maybe. I think it's Heavenly Castle. So yeah, this was definitely made with an intention of trying to, like, this was written for an orchestra and then played on a Super Nintendo. And I will say that I'm not sure what track it is derivative from, but it is derivative of some famous classical track. But it's still beautiful, and it makes me feel the beauty of this universe and of heaven itself. Wow. Next up from Rain World, this is Chimney Canopy, composed by James Primate. Let's get a little modern. I made this in Fruity Loops. That is a very special track. Everything in that is just perfect. I love the use of the delay. A lot of delay. I like that really low, rumbly synth bass. Feels like it's vibrating. There's an energy to it. There's such an energy to this whole composition. What a gorgeous track. Love the production, love the sounds. It does feel like it could just kind of loop on forever and ever. Oh no, we're stuck in this cave. Oh my god, I hope we get out here eventually. We can stay a little while. Yeah. You're tired, sit down. Just enjoy the ambience of this cave. Beautiful. So this is Crystal Tower from Final Fantasy III Pixel Perfect version. So I guess this is the new Pixel remasters that they've done. Look at this beautiful artwork. Oh yeah. I mean, it does kind of look like someone pissed on an oil painting, but that piss really improved it. Composed, of course, by Nobuo Uematsu. All right. Beautiful remaster. Let's take a listen to the original track, Crystal Tower, Final Fantasy III, original music. Why is Final Fantasy IX on the screen? Da, 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 da. Ba, da, 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 da. I guess this is like Uematsu kind of spreading his wings a bit up, like really learning the NES hardware and learning the franchise. Yeah, it's a little more dancey for, but I guess like some of those NES tracks, because you had to do so much with the bass channel, you had to like imply the whole entire groove and the percussion. So a lot of them ended up seeming more dancey. I feel like that part, that kind of reminds me of some other Final Fantasy stuff. I don't listen to a lot of his NES Final Fantasy stuff, but yeah, he was so limited back then. Everything had to be so catchy. Every instrument channel had to do so much. So it's probably why, it sounds a little different. All right, well, moving on. We're going to listen to something from... Let's see. Okay. This is from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. This is Sky Tower, originally composed by Arata Iyoshi, Atsuhiro Ishizuna, and arranged, this version, by Keisuke Ito. God, I love that fat fucking bass. It feels like a Game Boy bass. We got beautiful little pixelized sunset. Wow. That's beautiful. Really dancey, really exciting. I love the way he uses those stops. Creates a lot of, I don't know, it feels like it's kind of throwing you to and fro. What a beautiful track. So this is like a remake, must be a remake of some kind, because if there's an original composer and an arrangement, the original probably was on the original Game Boy, and that's probably where that bass is paying homage to. I want to see like a band go up to play, and the bass player, instead of having a bass, he's just got an original Game Boy. Plugged into a keyboard would be better, but I want to hear that Game Boy bass, baby. Next up from Xenoblade Chronicles X. Get a look at it. What a world that looks like. This is Z Field, composed by Hiroyuki Sawano and chosen by Rudi. Sounds like Tool. Yeah, it's a good point, Chris. I mean, I think with like blues and like slide guitar is it's a real kind of like lo-fi, not technical, down home, sitting on the porch kind of simple sound. Whereas mechs, like, they're so futuristic, they're so highly engineered, they're so, oh, you're stuck on foot, I see. So this is like, you're out of your mech and it's just you and your slide guitar. Oh my god, this bass. Sounds like fretless. Wow. Some prog, really fun, really heavy. Bass is so good. Man, really does feel like you're kind of out in the plains. I don't really get like a cave feel, but more of like a like grassy fields. Maybe a few mountains off in the distance. kind of like walking around, surveying the land. There's a danger there, but you're equipped to deal with it. All right, next up, from Yoshi's Island, the 1995 Super Nintendo game, sometimes known as Super Mario World 2. This is Underground Theme, composed by Koji Kondo. Reminds me of the last track, actually. Same, like, feel, you know? This feels more like I'm riding a horse kind of out into the unknown radioactive desert. Very like mystical, spiritual, emotional theme for hanging out with Yoshi in some caves. What a beautiful, beautiful theme. Probably near like interesting time for Koji Kondo, because he'd done so much iconic work up to that point, from the first Mario and Zelda from the NES. Super Nintendo's before he gets to the N64, and really makes some incredible work with Mario 64 and Zelda games. So this is him like in his prime, doing something that not a lot of people heard, just because this was getting so late in this SNES in its lifespan, and it wasn't really, I mean, it was technically Super Mario World 2, but it seemed more centered around Yoshi. It had the baby mechanic and the really, now when you look back on it, it's so beautiful, the pastel graphical style. It's like Wind Waker, you know, things that look kind of childish at the time and different from the norm end up being like just so gorgeous as you go on. It's like the difference between like the Final Fantasy VII remake trilogies. It's like, yeah, it's got a lot of graphics and some of it is beautiful, but you're constantly competing with what are you trying to do? You're just trying to make it look realistic? Well, it's not realistic. So you're trying to make it look like beautiful, I guess. But it's more like beauty and just kind of raw power of beauty, as opposed to this, which is like very beautiful and picks an art style and does it, and it's gorgeous, you know? Or like how beautiful Breath of the Wild is because of art direction. Art direction, for some reason, overlooked. I don't know, Forest Maze from Super Mario RPG. Anyway, that's not on the list, so let's move on. Next up is Heart of the Mountain from Celeste. It's composed by Lena Raine. It's a slow burn. cool. The heart of a mountain can be, when you're inside a mountain, it feels like a cave, but a mountain is a tower into itself, reaching up to the sky, reaching up to the heavens. Yeah, that's that soundtrack. There's kind of a space feel to it for sure. I guess without like that kind of like twinkling star, bleep bloop of a sci-fi computer. The kind of thoughtful, the synth too. It has like a futuristic, thought-provoking sci-fi sound to it. But also when you overlay that like really emotional, bare bones kind of a piano too, it's like really raw and personal. I did stream this game, as you can see. This is like, episode was titled Final Episode ? So we're on the difficult parts here. Me trying to figure this out. Streamed way back in, wow, 5 years ago, February 3rd, 2019. Different time. I was 35. Wow. Really beautiful and emotional. Good stuff. I know the Super Mercado brothers weren't all that. What was I gonna say? They weren't all that hot on this soundtrack, but it's simple, but I mean it gets the point across, and you definitely feel something with all the tracks. So it's gorgeous, thought-provoking, emotional. Well, looks like we got ourselves another track from the franchise Ys 8. Lacrimosa of Dana, a water drop in the dark, composed by Hayato Sonoda, chosen by Rudi, of course. That is really beautiful. There is a lot of confidence in this track. I mean that like you start off with this kind of like almost sounds like a low kind of cello or something. It's bassy, but it's tight and it's organic and it's kind of dry, and then that like beautiful kind of gooey contrast of this like crystalline, really kind of highly affected high synth. The song, it just really does a great job of contrasting itself constantly. There's Jace, I Break for Bunnies. In the video, I remember they were big into streaming most of the Ease games. A lot of like mystical cave qualities to this one. You know, I always think of like, when you think of a cave, I think of like the reflections on the top of the cave, the stalactites coming down, water dripping down, pools of water, crystals. Ooh, yeah, this track really goes a lot of different places. I think this track does a great job of like, okay, you might be in a cave, and like Rudi says, water cave. Could be bad, could be a bad time, could be claustrophobic, could be a bit of a grind fest. But you have this magical music to push you through. Alright, moving on to Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, released on the GameCube in 2003, In the Gloomy Darkness, composed by Kuni Tanioka. I'd say, I mean, this really feels like a nice cave theme or a tribe of mountain people. I can see that too, Chris. It's got like a magical kind of mysticism. Like you could see this being, what's his name? Kimari, like a Kimari kind of track. There's like a real thoughtfulness because of the space in between the bass notes. Boom, 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 boom. And then it just waits. And the bass never feels like it's kind of resolving, you know? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. No, it's like... So it just kind of leaves you hanging, which gives you this kind of like otherworldly feel. It feels like there's something magical. There's something sort of outside of our understanding, you know, something really important and beautiful. And you also have those like the constant synth pad that's just floating in the background there. It's gorgeous. It really sounds like that track from Final Fantasy X, the one where Tidus and Yuna, I think when they're like making out in that lake, and when you're walking around those blue electric-y kind of walkways. Wow, what's that track called? It's so gorgeous. I think it was one of the first Musashi tracks on Final Fantasy X. Musashi Amazu. And then letting that lower string note be the lead melody, too. It's like a lot lower than, say, a violin or like a flute or something. Almost has kind of like an Asian string sound to it. Really gorgeous, like one of those kind of achingly beautiful, melancholy beautiful. What is that track called? I think it's called something like Spiral. Wandering Flame, I think it's called. Wandering Flame. This is a really gorgeous track. I like this one a lot. This I'm gonna add to my my chill out playlist. My Final Fantasy Down, I call it. I have Final Fantasy Up and Final Fantasy Down. Yes. Yeah, let's check out Wandering Flame, which I think is pretty similar. Well, like, I mean, it's in a different key and everything, but it's the way the pad, and what I mean by pad are those notes that just play with no end. There's no like attack to the start of the notes don't end. It's just this wash of sound. Like, man, when you heard this, I thought, alright, if they were gonna bring in somebody to help Uematsu, this is the guy that could take over for Uematsu. Like, personally, I'm not really all that impressed with the music in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I feel like they play a little bit of the original themes, but so much of the music is just... You can't... Uematsu's so good. He's so good, and his music is such a big part of Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy VII. But Hamazu... I mean, I really liked his versions of the... his arrangements of the Final Fantasy VII Remake songs. Thought he did a good job. But the person they've got working on the Rebirth, I'm really not all that impressed with. Seems like the person working on Rebirth, their specialty seems to be these like really obnoxious songs, like Wall Market and songs that play during the workout people stuff, just like that really campy obnoxiousness. Mitsuno Suzuki, that's the one I don't like. But Hamazu, very special composer. And did some incredible work on Final Fantasy 13. And Yoko Shimomura, actually. I mean, Yoko is up there with Uematsu, too. That was a good choice for Final Fantasy 15. But, yeah. I see a lot of people really liking the Rebirth soundtrack, and some people saying, oh, it's amazing, but I just do not see it. All right, well, if you're watching this on YouTube, this video is over. And I'm just going to turn off the YouTube video, and I'm going to talk on the stream for a few minutes. And oh, if you want to be part of it, in the more info or whatever, the description for the video, there'll be a link to our Discord, and you can join our Discord, and you can help choose which topics we do for the show. We do the show maybe about once a month right now, and you can choose songs, and you can hear my opinion on the songs you choose. Lucky you. And you get to interact with all these wonderful people like Rudi and Chris and Claudio and Solace and my mom. If all of had a YouTube show, I would be there as well. All right, thanks everybody for all your picks. If you're on YouTube, goodbye.